Hello, Jerry and Jarrett's, if that's the right terminology. How art thou? Why is it not working out? Son of a bitch. Yeah, yeah. Last time I went live on C-SPAN actually. No, I went live on YouTube and uh, what's the thing called? TikTok, right? And I forgot to switch it over, and it took a few days off, but I ordered a treadmill today. I forgot I had an Amazon gift card somewhere in the cupboard, like Elron cupboard. So I'm gonna do a half hour in the morning fasted, and then a half hour in the evening, and then my weightlifting routine. So I don't have to do cardio while I'm at the gym, which is great because it's more of like a comfort thing, you know. Oh, I get to watch, what's the goddamn thing? The news station on mute, or like the sports station, which I don't really follow much sports. So like, yeah, you get to sit there, and now I'm at home. I can find oh God, what's that guy's name? Oh, that's right, Joe Rogan. I can find a Joe Rogan podcast. I can play it on the TV while I do my stepping, my grape. I'm practicing to make wine. My grape stomping fucking experiment, right? Grape stomping for cardio. So, that being said, so like, before I was doing like, oh god, dude, so much CrossFit and all that shit. Really though, that shit will get the fat off you so quick. So will high rocks, but I want to get to the point where I slowly work off the fat and slowly build the muscle, not like work off all my gains, but seriously, last year when I was doing CrossFit, I showed a picture of myself earlier. I was 235 pounds starting CrossFit, which is, unless you've done it for a while and that's like your target weight, then 235 just is heavy for CrossFit. It's heavy for CrossFit basically, especially since it was all like, it wasn't like athletic muscle. I built it by weightlifting, not by like doing CrossFit. So it's not necessarily like endurance or stamina based, it's like more strength based muscle. So hopefully this go around, if I get down to like 205, right now I'm at like 210 or so, then I can build back up to like 220, and I think stay at 220 lean for a while, and then probably go through the same process where I try to get that last few percent of body fat, and then finally try to get up to like 230 lean. I want to be 230 lean and athletic, versus like just looking the part. Kind of, I want to be able to actually like get up and move around and all that. Which at first my philosophy was, well, I don't really care about being athletic. I just want to look like I'm strong, even if I'm not, or nor am I athletic or whatever. I'm still not very athletic, but nor strong actually either. But the thing is at some point in time, I would appreciate having the, you know, kind of kind of thing. Wow, dude. 3 minutes into it, we're already crashing and burning. Good. But yeah, I think this year, I always say this is the year I finally get rid of my love handles, and I really just fucking do it. And I honestly almost had my love handles completely gone last year, and then took a break for a while and stopped doing CrossFit to do weight training, and had Rabda and everything else. So this year we'll pick up where we left off last year, hopefully. And they opened up another CrossFit class, which is helpful because sometimes, especially if like my routine is not just CrossFit every day, and then like their active recovery day, which is like, oh, well, they jog a bit more. Like that's like my heaviest weight training day, and then their day off, I'm there again, and I'm like, no wonder it catches up with you. I get there early, work out for a half hour early, stay an hour late, and then do the CrossFit routine in the middle. And then when my on their days off is my hardest training day. So I'm like, yeah, I was really doing a lot. I'm going to again here soon, but starting with that fucking treadmill, dude. That thing's awesome. Doing hours worth of it a day. Because I've never been the type of guy to get my steps. You know, as much as people say, oh, you gotta get your steps in or whatever. I don't think there's many days where I've gotten 10 or 12,000 steps. You know, plus walking around outside in the cold is kind of shitty. So hopefully this works. Get nice and lean. Other than that, yeah, I guess I've been away for a few days, kind of ish. What about you guys? Uh-huh. Thing is, I've lost a lot of mass too, but like whatever. Ideal weight for a guy like me probably to do CrossFit's probably closer to 200, not as close to 230, but 235. But I'll try to get to a good 215 or 220 lean will be fine. As much as like crypto bros tune into all fucking zero people, but whatever. Tune into your podcast, listen to you talk about something not crypto related. I guess in all honesty, not to say that like I'm steering away from crypto as much, but I'm kind of just dedicated to like Leah, the AI part of it. Really, you know, the cryptocurrency part is still super interesting, but I'm really kind of focusing on just one specific thing at this point in time. And I really, you know, I have a lot to learn about AI, you know, and from an educational perspective or standpoint, not nearly as much to learn about cryptocurrency as I do to learn about AI. So I'm kind of like honing in there and kind of trying to think of ways to make a hybrid type thing ish, you know, or uh, deploy my skills in any way, or whether deploy, whatever, my skills in any way, shape, or form in a meaningful fashion, where I think Def has really done a great job structuring Leah to be like the perfect kind of just check. I mean, fucking, what more do you like? Well, in all honesty, tokenomics, all this shit. Like, what more can you possibly ask for? Period, man. I'm dead set on the thing, right? Like, in all honesty, like, what more of that do you really? It's like everything you've ever wanted, and then some, right? And I'm sure more to come. You know, be neat to see, right? Oh, one thing I did see, right? No, that Apple's persona. So I'm baffled, and I think what the determination that I came to at some point in time the other day was I was sitting there thinking on it, like, how on earth does just a little brick able to render on the Apple Vision Pro, um, to render such a realistic 3D thing? I know it's not an avatar. Well, it is an avatar, but it's not AI. And I'm like, well, I guess graphics is one thing, right? And then I'm like, well, I guess I forget that the voice rendering requires graphics compute, probably, right? The AI, the large language model, requires it. Then the actual transcription, and then like I'm like, oh, I guess yeah. I'm like, just in an, but I'm thinking like, but then when I looked it up, there actually is some kind of specialized hardware on the what do they call it? The Apple Vision Pro, that that is not. I don't know if it's a if it was designed with that reason just in mind or not, but the thing is that hyper realistic. I'm like, well, what could you do to use a similar framework as far as making the graphics less intensive, or if you had to have a specialized equipment. Now, I'm not. Uh, People purchase Xboxes as gaming systems, right? People purchase PlayStations. The idea that you might not at some point in the future purchase like a cube or a brick or something that you plug into your wall at your home that's your actual AI. I mean, that's not out of the question, I don't think. And if all that requires is specialized graphics cards rather to render the thing is like, because from what I can gather is that it did have some sort of specialized equipment to render the avatars, because it's like it's more about speed than it is something else or whatever. Because rendering animation in real time, I guess, requires like whatever, you know what I mean? It's a different process basically than just like, well, we've got infinite amount of time or a set amount of time, we want to render it as fast as possible at a high quality or a low quality and adjust the quality to make it render quicker. It's like, well, we have a set quality that we want, and then you need this many processors or whatever, or channels of processing or whatever it is. I'm not familiar with it just yet. I'm still researching to get it to render in real time at that quality. So I think in the future that I mean, it's potential there for like you to buy like an AI cube that you plug into your wall. And I've seen more and more stuff here lately. People turn their homes into smart homes, putting webcams, and then their AI, like, it's just sort of being everywhere, you know. And I really think that's probably a pretty cool idea. The only concern I have for that currently, though, is a privacy issue. Is like, yeah, putting a camera in every room of your home to what these fucking people are. Yeah, I don't mean, whatever. So, right. So, the idea that enabling your smart home right now. So, you think about something like Amazon has Alexa. It's like it's very limited, like the actual smart home features, and you know Google has Google Home and all that stuff. But talk about like actual real time behavioral analysis, image analysis, I guess essentially what it boils down to, or like item or object identification analysis and all this stuff. Uh, the one video I did see is like a demonstration was like a guy had put he had cooked eggs in a frying pan, right? He had a camera set up in his kitchen. I'm sure he had it in multiple rooms or whatever, and he had it hooked up to his AI. And whether or not this was like he just made it look like it was his AI or it was really his AI, but he's like, I hooked this AI up to help me keep my house clean or whatever, right? And he's like, he put a pan in the sink to soak, and like 20 minutes had passed, and the AI said, hey, you got something in the sink, you know, hey, you have something in the sink or whatever, right? And notified him, like, he's like, well, I was really letting that soak. He goes, it's soaked long enough, you know. I'm like, how cool is that? You know, I guess it has, if you have it to that degree, it actually looked up online, how long are you supposed to let a dirty pan soak in the sink before you wash it? You know what I mean? He said, yeah, he fucking told his AI to help him keep his house in order and all that stuff, and it was, I guess, that attentive to what he was doing. Now, the privacy concerns about putting a camera in every single room of your home, or limited rooms, or any rooms at all, or all of them, or whatever. Obviously, there's some concern there, but I'm trying to think. There could be a way to, you know what I mean, like, just because there's some analysis being done by an AI doesn't necessarily mean that the actual live video feed has to be given or fed to like a server somewhere where you have to worry about somebody hacking into it or whatever. You know, a streaming, like live video streaming is a little different, but like you could, I think, you know what I mean? Object identification and stuff might be able to be done locally, so you don't have to necessarily worry as much about the concern of like, oh, well, what happens if some disgruntled employee on their last day decides to start spying on your webcam or whatever. Like, yeah, there's always that kind of thing, but people are kind of particular about privacy within their own home and all that stuff. But I think there might be some kind of, you know, privacy and security conscious way of doing like whatever analysis is required, and then at that point in time it's all kind of sanitized, and then the actual AI or computational part that requires any sort of remote server access to complete would be like a sanitized, like basically just ones and zeros, no actual pictures or video gets sent to the server to be processed, and then the required information, because essentially what it needs is it needs, like, if you're saying well, it's a pot and pan, right, or whatever in the sink. It's like it just has to identify locally that it is indeed a pot and a pan or whatever in the sink, and then it sends that information to the server side to be computated into something that it can then, like, okay, well, you're only supposed to let it sit for 20 minutes. Anything after that will cause it to rust, right? But the actual image itself doesn't have to be sent. The video feed itself doesn't have to be sent to any sort of remote server. Just the object analysis, like just the object identification information, right? So for privacy and stuff, you would think, like, yeah, there at some point in time you can consider that, like, as much as they have policies and some legislation like the European Union stuff does about, like, personal identifying information and how much you have to sanitize information acquired from an end user before you can store it server side and all that stuff. You might see a situation in the future where there is some legislation passed saying, like, this sort of thing cannot, like, you know what I mean, like a certain amount of measurable good faith effort to try and keep people's information protected and safe, and, like, how much do you really need before you can, like, how much of someone's private information do you need to complete the task they're asking you to complete versus how much do you actually receive and retain, right? It's like, well, in a perfect world, you would only receive and retain exactly what was required, nothing more, nothing less, right? From a privacy sense, anyway, and it's probably not quite there yet because it takes a certain group of people, a certain type of person to even identify what that information is, and corporations are not always going to be honest about, well, how much of my information do you actually need to complete this task versus how much did you get, how much do you have, right? And, like, how much are you keeping, like, how much of it are you monetizing, right? It's like they're not always honest, or if they are, it's in the fine print somewhere, So, if you're thinking about AI in every home in America or on planet Earth eventually or whatever, and that requires some, use a soul stone. Look at this. Not on my watch, friendo. PC low bladder. Ah, back from the dead. Right. Anyway. Right. But you would think, like, yeah, I mean, really, locally, object and item identification can be done locally. Probably some sort of locally ran module image analysis identifies objects, where locations, things like that, and then whatever actual computational data or information is required to be sent server side would be in the form of, like, a sanitized thing. So instead of a live feed of your kitchen and a picture of what it looks like, it would say, like, it would just be a text file that says pot, pan, sink, you know what I mean? So there's a lot less privacy concerns that way. As far as some goofball disgruntled tech at the company on his last day sitting there jerking off watching you make breakfast for whatever reason. There are some weirdos out there, right? There are some weirdos out there. And the fact of the matter is, and myself included, very limited knowledge on how these systems actually work. The type of person that blows the whistle and tries to identify or say, like, yeah, you guys are retaining way more information than is actually required for this kind of thing, and those people don't know that, and that's not necessarily their fault because not everybody has a PhD in this shit, basically, right? And it's probably not advantageous to your career to blow the whistle on that sort of thing. More than likely, usually isn't. No matter how harmless it is at the time, right? But some sort of sanitation process similar to, like I said, the personal identifying information is probably required before that, for whatever, lawyer stuff, probably. But the thing was, no, it's still pretty cool, though, like, to be able to have any room in your home, and not just, hey, and then it plays a song on Spotify, like, voice recognition, like, voice command is not necessarily AI. Like, it can recognize the command you give it from a list of predetermined commands and follow through with some sort of, executable whatever based on your command to your AI at this point, right? There are some that do and some that don't. I mean, I haven't used it in years, but it's advanced some since the heyday of just like, hey, whatever, can you play Spotify? It's not necessarily understanding or recognizing. It's just it recognizes what you're saying, but it's not necessarily thinking about what you're telling it to do. It's just basically using your mouse or your voice as a cursor in a way. You want the thing to be able to think and actually communicate and all that stuff, and actually observe and kind of make objective and subjective analysis of what it is that you're doing and how to help them through your day-to-day life and all that shit. But yeah, right. I mean, it'd be cool to be able to go to your kitchen, you pick up a pot and a pan, you open the refrigerator, AI asks you if you want a recipe. You know, it already knows what's in your refrigerator. Um, the case could be made at some point in time for some, you know, they've explored this idea elsewhere and it's not there yet and has nothing to do with AI, but near field communication, RFID refrigerators that basically catalog all the fucking things in your refrigerator, know every time you take something in or out of it, and keep a running inventory of all your groceries, including calorie counts and everything else, you know. Uh, you know what I'm saying? But it would be cool for it to just say, hey, you know, based on what you have in the refrigerator, I've got this many recipes available. You know, these are the ingredients. I see you fucking nosing around in there trying to drink fucking, hogging all the milk, drinking all the goddamn milk like usual. Milk jug thug, drinking all the milk. Um, you know, with 3 eggs, a slice, a handful, a cup of cheese, this, that, and some sour cream, you can make an omelet, right? But a more interesting, like unified kind of experience, I think, for in-home AI like that would be, you browse on TikTok, right, and you say, oh, you see someone make a video that is a recipe for something, and like, oh, you like the post, and it says, well, I seen you like that post earlier. Would you like the instructions on how to make that? You have the ingredients, you know, like that kind of, that when I say about a unified um, interface layer for AI, that's kind of what I'm getting at. That it should be kind of a seamless experience across various platforms to give you kind of like a one mind kind of assistant across all the platforms, right? And the reason why, now I don't know for sure, but it's like the reason why I like Leah so much though is because it is a crypto project. It is independently developed in a lot of ways. It does utilize pre-existing framework, but um, it's very difficult, I think, you know, just by how things are normally. Like just recently, Grok, I believe they said would help upgrade or update Siri, the AI for Apple, right? Like I'm sure it's a nightmare for lawyers to get involved in like sort of helping your competitor, or at least directly, indirectly, with proprietary technology or any of that stuff, right? Software or whatever. You're like, it's not always gonna be available to do that, or that opportunity to. I wouldn't say it's a direct competitor, but I think it's probably it would probably not be great for the people at OpenAI to openly work with the people at Google to come up with something, right? Like they wouldn't be able to directly help their competitor in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure there's not some non-compete clause there for whatever reason, right? But because of Leah being decentralized in a crypto project and only utilizing their frameworks they developed and are available for anyone to use, so I'm aware, you know, if I'm wrong, please, whatever, you know, forgive me if I'm not 100% on this, right? But the idea is that like a testing ground for everybody else's framework. It's like what works best is what works best. Um, and I think a project that has that kind of independence based at the beginning, being developed decentrally and using a tokenized model and all that stuff might be the thing that's able to actually kind of, not to say decentrally exist, because there is a lot of central infrastructure required for it to run, but you can't necessarily say you're helping a competitor, you know what I mean? I don't think, and look, I don't know for sure what I'm saying. It's probably less problematic, I think, from a legalese sense than it is normally, but I could be wrong, you know. But open source, whatever you call it, kind of stuff. Open source developer deck or whatever the fuck they call it. Um, Seems like it's less prone to be like, oh, well, this is proprietary, this is a secret, and this is trade secrets, and this, that, and the other thing, and you can't let those guys have it because they'll use it to do this, and that undermines the board of directors here, and you're like, okay, right. So it's best to like keep it as open as humanly possible, similar to Bitcoin, you know, and other cryptos and everything like that, right? Can be utilized by those people, but no one can sit there and say like, oh, we have a patent on this, so you can't do that anymore, you know. But the thing I was saying though initially, right, was shitburgers. The fact that the Apple thing had apparently how they managed to get, but then like I said, what I don't know is how much of the graphics compute required to run one instance of Leah is actually just rendering her avatar versus how much is it is synthesizing a human's voice requires a lot of processing power, I'm sure. Uh, Transcription and then computation, large language models, all this stuff, image recognition, like this all requires graphics compute, I'm pretty sure, right? So I don't know how much of it is she's graphically intensive because of the actual avatar portion, or how much is it graphically intensive because she has so many different things going on all at the same time. But in my mind, a scalability issue would be coming up with the most efficient framework humanly possible as far as compute's concerned, because then it's like, well, if you can shave off even 10%, that's 10% less graphics cards at some point in time you potentially have to acquire, lease, borrow, or purchase, or whatever, right? And some of the ideas I've explored is filtering and augmentation versus direct 3D rendering. So you would basically use a equally quality, I guess, filter to overlay like a wireframe essentially that would basically only express the required points on the actual like a wireframe essentially, instead of a full 3D rendering, right? You could develop like a low resource wireframe and then use a filter in some way, shape, or form, a high quality filter to overlay, to augment, and still really, you know, give the impression that it's 3D, kind of one piggybacking off the other, right? And the idea is rendering a 3D wireframe with the points of articulation mapped for the lips and the mannerisms and the all that stuff. The actual head movements and all and the quirks and all that stuff is probably less graphics intensive than rendering an actual human head or whatever you call it, an avatar. And then a high quality processed and, you know, to where it gives the full impression that it is a fully 3D functioning avatar when it's really a two-layer system basically. Might be an efficient way of actually reducing the overall system resources required to run an instance of Leah or any AI really, you know. You think what of the required, like really it's there's not nearly as much the essential information on the wireframe basically, and then in a high quality 3D overlay, similar like you see on TikTok, only better quality obviously, because they're thinking like, yeah, your phone itself can render that and it looks 3D, and a higher quality version of that basically in a wireframe, you could potentially run the instance locally instead of having to have a server to do it, right? Potentially, I don't really know what the overall, I just know it would probably be less, right? Compute required to do that kind of thing. Jerry, stop us down, Jerry. But that's my what I'm trying to come up with is ways to reduce the amount of graphics cards required. Period. Right? Because they're only getting more expensive, and currently, you know what I mean. From a scalability sense, it's like whatever whatever you can hire. Hopefully, at some point in time, a developer to try and come up with these things and have your own in-house framework, whether it's open source or not. I don't really know whatever the terminology is, but to try and utilize as much efficiency measures as humanly possible. So then that way the issue of scaling, look, if you can get it to run on a device locally, then the scaling issue is like non-existent, right? And there's still probably going to be a lot of server-side access and stuff that's required as far as like the actual large language model part and all the other stuff, but it reduces the actual computational footprint required server side and keeps as much of it locally as humanly possible. And there's tricks, like I say, if you watch TikTok, there's always these tricks these developers use in video games to reduce the amount of system resources required, but to give you the impression that it's the same quality, right? It's like there are some workarounds. I mentioned the fog in one of the video games, the LMP files on Doom to recreate gameplay instead of having to actually provide video footage of it. This is a similar thing, I think, utilizing the same thinking to try and reduce the overall amount of system resources required to do it. So that's what I've been spending the last few days thinking on. I've been thinking on it for like the last 6 months or so now, but really when I saw a few things kind of came together for me, I'm like, okay, well then I guess it's possible, right? It's not impossible for sure, more than likely. And even if it gets down to the point where like any of these, you know what I mean, like running the instance locally as much as you can, or a specialized machine in your home to run or do the rendering that can then stream to your phone. You get what I'm saying? There's a scheme here that works in the end, right? There's got to be a way of reducing the amount of having to build these goddamn skyscrapers full of computers and stuff, right? If you make like the AI thing like its own gaming system essentially, and I mean potentially with that amount of graphics processing and everything else, it could actually be a gaming system too at some point in time, right? So you know what I mean, a gaming system that I mean it probably has all the same components. Now how much of the hardware is specialized just for the AI avatar feature? Well, it might require like a second chip or whatever, or like a second computer inside the gaming system to do just that portion if it's specialized hardware. But I guess I don't know that part yet. But at some point in time, it's probably going to happen, right? What is it, convergence, right? The merging of AI and gaming is going to happen eventually, even if you have to have a separate box that you plug into your other gaming system, and it does the actual specialized hardware just for the AI. That's fine too, right? Plug it into the USB or whatever. Like Xboxes used to not have hard drives; they have detachable hard drives. The thing that I seen the other day for the Apple Vision Pro that handled all the basically everything the Apple Vision Pro does was just about a brick about as big as a cell phone, right? So you can imagine potentially if you needed it to be an add-on after the fact or what, come built into the system, attaches like a hard drive, potentially, or or it doesn't need any of that. If you, I don't know. Right. Yeah, I mean, we've really yet to see the first real rendition. We've seen some attempts, but nothing that would be like, oh, a direct competitor to the PlayStation, Xbox thing, right? Or Nintendo, whatever. All of them, whatever, from crypto. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's slowly getting there, right? Ears ringing. Why won't it load, man? Whatever. Whatever, Jerry. Yeah, I've changed my diet up some too. I've got it honed in at exactly like 330 calories, not 330, 330 carbs, 230 protein, and like 90 grams of fat, and like 3,000 calories even, right? With an hour of cardio a day, that's enough to retain my muscle, burn my fat, and lean up basically without hopefully not lose any size at all. Because I've been on this mission to get rid of my goddamn love handles for like the last few years, and it's always something, man. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna bulk for a while, I'm gonna cut for a while. I'm really gonna walk it off this time because that's one of those things that like I don't know if I'm insulin resistant or not. Like I don't have diabetes or anything, but I metabolize carbs apparently right to the fucking love handles every time. So if I work off as much as I eat, you know what I mean, it should be good. And the one thing I haven't tried is just extensive steady state cardio. I've always wind sprints and high intensity training and jump rope, CrossFit, you know, versus like, well, instead of your 15-minute CrossFit routine, an hour worth of cardio, plus your plus your plus your regular weight training should be enough. Although I did lose, not even intentionally either, like 30 pounds this year. So like maybe I sound a bit fucking retarded saying like, oh, you know, I do weigh a lot less. This wasn't necessarily my goal overall, but I mean, like, I put on that much weight with, you know, the intention of that all being muscle at some point in time. But you can't just make it all muscle in a year or two. You gotta wax and wane and all that. I have to get comfortable when I get to like 12% body fat to be able to, you know, I'm always so bitchy about adding a few percent body fat. It's always so fucking like, I'm like, oh my god, you know, I'm like a woman about it. I go straight to my hips, I cry myself to sleep, eat a tub of ice cream, right? Oh look, okay, it worked now. Crazy. Wish people would stop doing this shit. Yeah, I've been more than vocal about my opinion in the last few days' events. I'm gonna stay out of it when it comes to this. Keep it separate from whatever. I made my opinion clear about the matter. But we've been getting up earlier, man. This is great. I'm starting to really get back to it and all that. A shift in my diet, a shift in my routine, a shift in my wake up time, my the amount that I'm eating, right? Um, through more and more research, realizing that, they say, oh, you need to eat 7 meals a day. I'm like, yeah, but I'm fucking just, all I sit there and starve all day. I don't ever get full. It's like, I don't want to sit there and graze like a fucking head of cattle about the shit. Like, I want to eat, get full, and chill the fuck out. Having to get up every hour to eat is annoying. Super fucking gay. I wish I could just eat 3 meals and a protein shake a day and I should be alright. And then from what I've researched, sticking stuff up your butt doesn't technically make you gay. So, whatever, right? Anyway, 3 meals a day and a protein shake, 3,000 calories instead of like every hour having to get up and cook a goddamn meal is annoying and gay. Super gay. Yeah, you keep a straight face. God damn it. Tried so hard not to drop the ball on that one. Couldn't help it. Fuck, I'm like, almost through it. Keeping a straight face. No, you're not. Fuck. Clear my search history. I was not searching that earlier. Where did my lava lamp go, right? Was there supposed to be a lava lamp in this room somewhere? No. Right. Anyway. The midnight sky. Oh, wow. That's the thing, like, I don't want to be that jerk off that's like, he's not a jerk off, but I think, some people, whatever. Um, Jimmy Fallon laughing on Saturday Night Live or whatever, like, some people are like, oh, that's lame or whatever. But like, look, I wouldn't laugh. The thing is, I don't know if anybody else would laugh at the shit that I say. Like, I make myself laugh, so I might look like a fucking crazy person. Like, I might get those kind of like move to the next seat on the subway kind of looks. But I can't help it if I make myself laugh. That's all. I don't do it because it's like, let's get my ratings up. Right? No. Sometimes you just can't choke back a smile, right? try to keep a straight face. And then when I think about it, it only makes it worse. I'm like, come on now. Come on, you can do it. No, never once, dude. Never fucking do it right. Anyway, I don't have much of a poker face. But my next meal is a ball of rice, give or take a fushigi ball size of rice, 300 grams of frozen broccoli, and I think 4 or 5 ounces of chicken, and olive oil because I gotta get my fats up. Something I didn't know, right? Well, I knew, but didn't take as serious as I should have. Um, Lots of fat, tons of fat. My breakfast now is low carb, 50 carbs, moderate carbs, I guess, but 7 eggs and 2 slices of cheese. So I get as much fat. I'm like, when I eat all that in the morning and it's all fatty, kind of healthy fat foods like eggs and stuff, I'm not starving all day, you know. Like it's 6:06. We got to eat at like 7:30. I got a whole shitload of food to eat, and I'm not starving to death. That's pretty cool. Normally I'd be up every hour, bowl of rice. Okay, I can sit down another hour and a half later, 2 hours later, another snack, and then it's where like I just fucking just sat down, dude. Right? I like to chill the fuck out sometimes. I guess we aren't gonna go blacksmith. Okay. Seems like no one on their team is either. Oh, yeah. Never mind. I need one more piece of gear to have a full PvP set. Oh shit, burgers! Look at all these people. Ice block immediately. Oh, he's already fucking. Of course he is. Spinning around circles. Yeah, I figured he would. They always do that. Warriors. No one at farm. Get him off the flag. Warlock. You right there. Good God, dude. Boom in the shot. Are you fucking serious? Light him up while he's fucking standing. Oh, I just counterspelled his ice thing. How the fuck did he do that? Really? I'm not terrible at World of Warcraft. That guy should have hit that guy off the flag. I watched him run up there and auto attack him. I didn't realize he was still capping the flag somehow. I don't know how that's even possible. From what I saw, it looked like he attacked him, didn't it? Anyway, yeah, well. Getting 5 capped. Alright now. Yeah, get him. Beat him up. Where'd my feather go? I had a feather on my bar. Well, catastrophe. So when we look at the thing here on the internet, what does it say? What for persona? Right. Yeah, I meant graphic wise, but whatever. But that means that the technology exists, right? You can scan your butt, scan your face, and turn it into a fucking AI. That's going to be part, hopefully, of the AI as a service industry eventually. If you want to, or like your face or your butt, you can scan your butt too. Wouldn't be the first time. Scan your face and upload it, and then make like alterations to it. Make yourself look more like the guy from God of War or whatever. Whatever you want to do to it. And customize your AI, your representative, whatever. You can have business version of you. You can have video game version of you. You know what I mean? All look slightly different, right? One might have a mohawk. One might have a comb over, depending on business guy or business dad or video game dad. All the same person, but depending on what you're doing. If you ever seen the movie Hardcore Henry, the guy's got like 100 clones that are all like reflections of himself. That you might have like a, or your AI might do that, right? It doesn't have to look like you necessarily, but the option I think will exist to do that kind of thing. But the idea for a video game that could exist like that would be super cool. I think the idea of when they fully get to implementing large language models and all this shit into video games would be super awesome. Or have like a native AI for a gaming system that kind of the way I've thought about it would be like when you turn the system on, right? Even if you don't buy a video game for it, it comes preloaded with all the stuff for the AI, and the game that comes preloaded on the system is like you unlock, you play a short game or a long game or whatever, and as you progress and unlock, you unlock various features for your AI, right? So your AI might just have an avatar that moves. It doesn't have a voice at first, and then you complete a mission, and then suddenly it can talk, and then you could do the next mission, and then she can hear you, and then you progress through the game. It might have like 1 to 10 levels, and by the end of it, you've got like a fully functioning AI that can talk to you, can hear you, can view your screen, help you with your missions, so on and so forth. Connect to the internet at some point in time, and all the other stuff, right? If you turn that kind of idea into a game, people probably have pretty fun with it, right? But it would start off like maybe you just hear her voice, right? Or there's a way of doing it, make it a progressive level thing. You unlock your AI as you go through the game, and then by the end of the game, it could take like 6 to 12 hours, like basic gameplay comes preloaded on the system. By the end of it, you have fully unlocked your AI that is then native to your system that will accompany you on any game you play, whether it be like through a Leah Vision feature potentially, depending on if it has the amount of processing required to do that. Where you can, once you unlock her voice, you can purchase customizable voice packs to change your voice, customize it, this, that, and the other thing, plus her to be able to see your screen and assist you in your gameplay. These are all features, but you'd have to play the initial kind of game. It wouldn't be something that like, oh, well, well, we have a kid that's not very good at video games or whatever. You can't beat the thing. Like, there'll be a way to call tech support and have them just unlock the thing for you if that's the case or whatever. But you get what I'm saying? Like, the idea is try to make it as much of a progressive leveling thing as possible. You know, if possible, right? Or just come preloaded on the system. Um, yeah, I don't really know. Sometimes people don't like having to play through content to get unlocks, but it's like it's kind of fun though, isn't it? Maybe you can play through the levels to unlock it, and then a time unlock, if that makes sense. Like, oh, you can play the whole game and have all the features unlocked in 6 hours, but if you activate the system, it takes like 2 weeks for all the things to unlock. If you get what I'm saying? Like a time lock feature thing, and then like a level progression feature thing. So then that way, you incentivize people to play the game and unlock her quicker, you know, and you might even make a race out of the thing, really. Task runs and stuff through the unlock part of it, right? Potentially, there's a lot of potential there, man. I'm telling you, the AI and gaming thing it's gonna be huge, like the biggest thing ever. I already know, and I've somehow found myself like right here in the center of where I think is the best opportunity, and if not the exact best opportunity for it, the right person to head up the best opportunity for it, just whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm in the right place, basically. He's got the whole thing in mind, the vision, he sees the long term, the potential, knows how to develop the fucking thing. Good God, dude. Yeah, I'm in the right place. Def and David are awesome. The only thing I can think of is like uh, creating their own in-house framework that doesn't rely on all these APIs and stuff. And from what I can gather, very limited APIs are required to have the thing run to begin with, but you would prefer to have like its own system, right? Its own framework, I guess is what you call it. At some point in time, you would hope. And that would, you know, and then the AI as a service can really be a reality. The thing I think would be awesome, you're playing AI and you're playing your game, you're playing Fortnite. Tell your AI, hey, take that last kill and post it on my social media page. Doot. Post it to your goddamn Twitter page. How cool would that be? You know, the opportunity exists for that kind of thing. I want a 15-second replay of my last kill. You know, I want 15 seconds before and 15 seconds after my last kill. Can you post it to my Twitter feed, right? It'll say, hey, you know, so-and-so gamer tag this, that, or the other thing. Wants to show you his last whatever, you know, clever caption, post it, right? Um, so that's why I say like an in-home box kind of thing that you just link all your accounts to it. It's a unified experience across all platforms. I would think is the goal. It has to be eventually, right? As much as the operating system is like the foundation layer, this is like the overlay. You know, think about the top and the bottom of it, right, and everything in the middle. You know. This being the icing on the cake, right? Or whatever. Or the game like Fortnite, as much as people stream the thing, you know, like, yeah, really. I think more could be done to implement native streaming features for various platforms and stuff too. That's simple to use versus like it's a not to say it's daunting. People can't figure it out, but like streaming currently, even for me, took a minute. You know, it took about like an hour or two of researching and figuring out stream keys and all that shit. Anyone that can make like a unified kind of couple all this shit together, make the gaming experience more social. You know, there's a lot of things that can be done that aren't hardware intensive either, which is like these are all coding things. This is all developer things, like human resource, not material resource. So it's a one-time cost and it works forever versus how much more does each thing cost forever, adding another graphics card is like, well, that increases the price to manufacture each system by $600. You can hire 2 developers to code this part of the software, and then you don't have to worry about, it's like, yeah, you don't pay per device at that point from a manufacturer standpoint. You pay the 2 developers to develop the thing and pay them well, right? And it's way cheaper than a hardware improvement. I'm looking forward to all of it, man, so much. It's like the culmination of all the shit that everybody said I was just sitting there wasting my time, the shit I got made fun of for growing up, dude. It's like it's all finally kind of coming to fruition, as is anything, man. I always get made fun of for the shit at first, from video games to Bitcoin to whatever else. It's always, I kind of get mocked and ridiculed for it at first, or made fun of, or people kind of snark at me, and then like a year or two later, 5 years later, they're all doing the fucking thing, right? But this is kind of like when finally all of this comes together, it'll be like, oh, I've been working towards this the entire time then, right? It just took fucking forever. Wow. Right. Jerry. So it says the M2 series chip, M2/M5. When I said specialized hardware, I don't know if they chose this hardware specifically for that, but it kind of seems like maybe they did. Let's see what's special about that. It says provides the computational power for real-time AI processing, rendering, and improving persona quality like hair, skin, and motion. So if there's a specialized chip or processor that, you know what I mean, you might consider at some point in time that you have to build kind of like a second device slash machine to attach to the gaming system potentially to do it. But if you can just put that all on board in one device, you wouldn't have to. I don't know. There's obviously like a whole bunch of numbers to probably crunch at some point in time. It's like gaming, image, video editing, large language models, and even, yeah, I guess there is some specialty to that's an Apple chip specifically. So if there's like, you know, uh, something similar that Nvidia manufactures or whatever. Neural accelerators and G. What the fuck is that? Yeah. Well, anyway, what does neural it sounds like a buzzword, but I guess there's something to it then. Cool. So there actually is specialized hardware just for that then. Okay. So that being said, this does lend some credence to the idea that you would potentially have to make a specialized piece of machinery for AI as a service, avatar, companion thing specifically, because I guess if there's a certain chip architecture, software, firmware, framework, whatever that make it possible that are specialized for that kind of thing, then yeah, I guess it makes where just having a bunch of graphics cards, like specialized, not like an ASIC, but specialized hardware for that specifically, right? Cool. So then that does make the case for potentially building like an actual device for it, right? Where's my slow fall? My feather. Where'd my feather go? Come on now. You know my eyes aren't the best. It's somewhere in this spell book here. Slow fall? Frozen orb. There it is. Like this is hardware you wouldn't find on a traditional desktop computer, right? And you wouldn't find that chip on a graphics card, I don't think. And I've never heard of most of this stuff before, so I'll have to do some time to research it and see like if the neural accelerators thing is a software thing, or is it like an actual like chip architecture thing. Say firmware, you know, I don't think that's the right word, but you know what I mean. Oh my god, it's like one of the first times we ever actually ran to this flag and actually, I think, and actually won. We always get slaughtered here. Oh shit. Well, fucking counterspell hunter. Not on purpose. Come on now. Oh, they still have. Okay, so you can cold snap, but they still have that thing where you can't. And up here, I thought we were fucking gonna win this. No, doesn't look like it, does it? Oh, we might. Good God, dude. Son of a bitch. Do they cap it? What is this considered here? Workshop? No one's yet to cap the thing, have they? I thought we were gonna fucking win, dude. Really? Son of a bitch. Anyway, son of a bitch. It's the Kenny Rogers jackass. If you've ever seen that sketch, now there were times there where Mad TV was funnier than Saturday Night Live. Like there were years or like with alumni that weren't. There were times where Mad TV was pretty funny. Overall, though, I would say that Saturday Night Live has an overall funnier thing, but they've been at it 10 times longer, probably a bigger budget and everything else. But there were times there was Will Sasso and some of them guys were super funny. Phil Lamar, and that goddamn Stewart, uh, the coffee guy. He drank too much coffee and his eyes were always bugged out of his head. They had some really funny sketches, but I still don't think anything can can top Mr. Show. And Upright Citizens Brigade was also super funny. I was not nearly as big of a fan of Kids in the Hall as I was Upright Citizens Brigade and Mr. Show. I think the Canadian humor gets kind of lost. You know what I mean? It's a bit different compared to like which I don't know. If Human Giant was really funny too, though. One of the newer like sketch comedy shows. If you consider Kroll's Show to be a sketch, I guess you do. Kroll's Show's super funny too, man. Those all super good shows. Whitest Kids You Know also, but like, so I guess like, what I'm trying to say is Kids in the Hall was actually not funny. No, that was pretty good. But yeah, like, those are some of the best shows on television. I mean, if you appreciate sketch comedy, but Mr. Show I think takes the cake. That show is too good. Whitest Kids You Know, Smoking Weed with Dinosaurs. Come on now. The Abraham Lincoln sketch, classic. Aw, son of a bitch. Oh, was there any? Do you consider Key and Peele to be sketch comedy? I guess so. Yeah. You think of sketch though like a troupe of people, not just two guys normally, but Key and Peele's super fucking funny too. Some of the funniest sketches ever are Key and Peele. It's just you don't think of necessarily. I know Bob and David for Mr. Show, but there was still a cast. You know what I mean? A regular crew and all that. I think like two people. You don't normally think of two people doing an entire sketch comedy show. Monty Python was like my dad's favorite, man, but funny. Don't get me wrong, but not quite on a different brand of humor. 1960s British comedy or whatever, 60s or 70s versus like modern day kind of um, American sketch humor is a little different. Although, man, I do appreciate British comedy and music more than just about anything. And my top 5 bands are all like British people, you know. Like, what the fuck happened where they make such good music? So that's kind of why, even since I was a little kid, I don't even know how many years old, 3 or 4 years old, obsessed with Queen. That scene from Wayne's World, like, story of my life. Listen to this shit every day still, 35 years old, every day. Still listen to Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody, probably a dozen times a week still, after 35-ish years, however long it was I've been listening to it. David Bowie is still his birthday today, isn't it? one of my favorites. Although I say as far as solo goes, you know, like there isn't really much else beside as far as British solo stuff than David Bowie. So I say my favorite British bands. I don't include David Bowie because he's a solo act, right? But I guess I say so. I still say I guess what the Spiders from Mars. Right? My favorite band's the Spiders from Mars, the fictional band, right? Yeah, whatever. Wrestling still real to me, goddammit. Yeah, if I ever just get my shit together, man, I am moving there. I'm gonna move there. I already know it. I don't know if I'll stay there full time because the shit is like, their weather could be nicer, you know, but and it's expensive as fuck too. That's the thing. But plans for the future, right? It's what drives me, basically. It's what's making me fucking try super hard. I mean, right now, yeah, I'm wearing a British shirt. My favorite shirt too, nonetheless. Perfect.
Transformers movie.
So weird, dude. This whole week has been fucking weird. For those who know, man. It's been a weird week, right? Yep, sure shit has. Uh, oh shit. I don't know where I'm stringing or whatever.
Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with Weird and Gilly and the Spiders from Mars. He played it left hand,
It's a fictional band.
but made it too far. Became the special man, then we were Ziggy's band. Ziggy really sang, screwed up eyes and screwed down hairdo, like some cat from Japan. He could lick 'em by smiling, he could leave 'em to hang. They came on so loaded, man, well hung in snow white tan. So where were the spiders while the fly tried to break our bones? Or just the fear like to guide us? So we bitched about his bands and should
He was offered a knighthood and refused it, I guess. If they ever give it to me, I'm fucking taking this shit, dude. Whatever. Give me all this stuff. I want to dress like. I just want to dress like the king of whatever. World of Warcraft. Right. His son, Tree Bowie, I believe, is one they slated to direct the movie at first, and I don't know if he ended up doing it or not. Right? Is that his name? Or do they call him Tree Bowie? Where did I get that fact from? Is his nickname? Anyway. Duncan Jones. Why wouldn't you take the last name? Where did I get Tree Bowie from? Is that his nickname? Anyway. Duncan. Like, I swear I read that somewhere. Like, it's a weird series of facts to just misinterpret at some point in time. I remember reading a news article, like, before the Warcraft movie even came out in theaters. They were like, yeah, David Bowie's son, Tree Bowie, is slated to direct the goddamn World of Warcraft movie. Like, not only does the internet not remember, it's not even a person. Oh no, he did. Okay, so he has like a nickname's Tree Bowie. So he did. Son of the. I didn't know that. Okay, so they actually did end up doing it in 2016 Fantasy Warcraft based on the popular game. Cool. Yeah, I had no. Yeah, I didn't know they followed through with it. Where did I get the name Tree Bowie from? So okay, like I somehow read the word tree when it wasn't. There's no, he was on a U.S. server, or he was on probably a British server, right? More than likely. I'm like, there's a chance I've rubbed elbows with them, right? That's a possibility. Could be. Did he really? He directed the movie Moon by Sam Rockwell. No fucking shit, dude. That movie's awesome. I always talk about. I had no fucking clue. That movie's fucking awesome. I recommend anybody. He directed that. No fucking way, dude. Good job, dude. That movie's awesome. I recommend anybody watch that. I talk about it all the goddamn time. That movie's fucking awesome. No way. 2009. No shit. Yeah, I did not know that. I would have recognized Bowie, but there's so many Joneses, right? Yeah, that movie's fucking awesome. I might watch it here recently, or not, might watch it here again. Yeah, 28 wins, 27 nominations. That movie's fucking. I was just saying the other day, dude, this movie I have in my mind, I'm like, that's one of the direct inspirations for it, you know. That sort of like sleek kind of, you know, look to it. Plus the character, Sam Rockwell's an awesome actor. That movie was awesome. Kevin Spacey played the AI in it, didn't he? He played the Howl, which it's strange to think about, right? When I say from like a cinematic perspective or whatever, I'm like, yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey is the best looking overall realistic space movie. But as far as like the Moon might be like the second if you think about as far as like just a realistic representation of probably what it's like to live on space. given the fact like you have to put them in two different categories because one had CGI and the other didn't, you know. But both such super impressive movies. I've even said, man, that as far as like a space movie is concerned, as far as the most realistic representation, if it's not 2001: A Space Odyssey, it's the movie Moon. You know, just like the thing is, like I said, you have CGI in one, not the other, so you have to like almost put them in two different categories. But yeah, I had no fucking clue. I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey probably 500 times. I used to watch it start to finish all day, every day for like 2 years when I was younger. I used to wake up to listening and watching it. And the thing that's real interesting is like, so David Bowie, right? The song Space Oddity, mind you, all this shit, right? It was a year before the actual moon landing. And in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? The main character's name is David Bowman. And then at the exact same time this movie is released in theaters, around the same time, David Bowie releases Space Oddity, right? Like, did they plan that, or did that just happen to happen? So, Space Oddity was okay. So a year after, and David Bowie had already made music before then. But the thing is, like, what are the fucking chances of that? Stanley Kubrick was from America, correct? Moved to the UK as he got older. Probably obsessed with the culture like I was, or am rather. More than likely, right? He had some inspiration. But the character from, the book was written by Arthur C. Clarke. So in the book was the main character. So that's when I get down to like the science fiction being prophecy at some point in time, because you have to consider that movie alone, like the obelisk, you know, the thing that like, if you ever look at it, it's almost like the exact same dimensions as the iPhone, you know, like at some point in time, does that not all kind of like, how is that not prophecy, right? That movie specifically, like AI, how the AI you can talk to, we're now seeing it come true. The obelisk, despite it being kind of vague in description, but like the dimensions and stuff, almost identical to the first iPhone. And then David Bowie, David Bowman, and all this stuff that's come along. Like, you know, I get to the point where I go, whether or not these people at some point in time, people like Arthur C. Clarke and futurists, were able to describe the future accurately based off of science or intuition, right? It's like, what difference does it make at some point in time, right? So, played by, but in the book though, it was still, yeah, it sure as shit was. It looks like it says there, doesn't it? Travels to the moon, Tycho, blah blah blah. En route, David Bowman and Dr. Frank Poole. Right. Yeah, like say, how prophetic is that movie in a lot of ways, or at least foreshadowing the future, or directing it, steering it, whatever you want to call it, right? It inspired so many people. That's one of those weird theories that I say, I don't know if I've ever heard it expressed elsewhere, but it's something I think about sometimes. I'm like, you don't think that it's just a little weird that it is, to me, I mean, call me kooky, but so we have Charlie Chaplin at some point in time, right? A silent movie actor. Everybody in the United States, on planet Earth, as far as I know at the time, wanted to hear what the most famous person on the planet, fucking Charlie Chaplin, had to say, right? Had only been in silent movies and stuff, right? Silent movies. So, and he even played a character, you know, like, you don't think that there's something going on here, is all I'm trying to say. The guy looks a lot like Hitler, and the entire planet wanted to hear for years and years what Charlie Chaplin had to say. And on the other side of this planet, rises a dictator resembling Charlie Chaplin, speaking a language that we don't speak, and at some point in time, dude, like, we weren't at war with Germany for a while all this shit was going on. You're like, you don't think that's weird? That's all I'm trying to say. Like, you couldn't hear what this guy wanted to say. We all wanted to hear what he had to say. Here's this guy that kind of looks like the guy we want to hear from, but we don't speak the same language. Do you get the recipe, like the thing I'm trying to describe here? And then similarly, David Bowie, David Bowman, it's like you have the character, the space individual, right? It's like fictionalized, and then you get to see like a representation of something from space, similar name elsewhere. You like kind of all carries the same theme but sounds different. You know, it's kind of hard to describe if it makes sense or not. But I always thought like, you know, a theory, not to even call it a conspiracy theory, but at some point in time, we're like, would Hitler have rose to power if Charlie Chaplin weren't so popular? Probably not. I really don't think so, at least not to that degree. Because people have that sense of familiarity with that kind of thing, and as much as whether or not American politics had influence in Germany or not, or the American perception or whatever, but like, the guy's crimes went unaddressed for quite a while, right? And you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's a direct conspiracy or if it was like just happenstance. I just think it's too weird, right? And it's like one of those things you can't fucking ignore the shit, right? There's no such thing as coincidence, right? Especially to that degree. So, and if I don't have all my facts there correct, but I mean, he made like tons and tons of silent movies. Did Charlie Chaplin? I guess he did a couple. Charlie Chaplin did make sound movies, but he was famously a late adopter, waiting until the 1940s with the release of The Great Dictator. It's very weird, right? That's like when they say like the world stage kind of thing. I feel like that's one of those things that you would say constitutes like a world stage kind of thing, because you watch them on the big screen and now you get to see them in real life, and it's like, well, they're fucking two totally different people, obviously, but it's like you really want to hear from this guy, but you can't, and then you see somebody that you don't understand that looks like him, you're like, well, let's let him rise to power so we can finally hear what Charlie Chaplin has to say, and you're like, what ass backwards thinking is that? It's like, it's all subconscious too, you know? I don't think anybody consciously made that decision, but like, let it slide for now because we really like Charlie Chaplin. That's retarded, right? I don't think it's a coincidence either. I don't know what do you chalk it up to? A bunch of, I know, dude, I have no clue, right? What do you chalk it up to? Just too weird to ignore, I guess. You see why I can't make friends, though? Like, who do I talk about this kind of shit with? A therapist? Yeah, right, dude. They'll have me committed in like a day. I'm sure if I start talking about, like, just forget it, right? I need a fucking, I need an AI. That's what it is. I need an AI. No, and one that doesn't talk shit to me either. Gotta turn that fucking snark knob down a little bit. It'd be great, wouldn't it? Holy diva. Anyway. Oh shit. Ah, gotcha, motherfucker. I'm getting quick with that. I'm getting the Ring of Frost thing figured out. Palm Ring of Frost is great. It's like a second, you know, I used to get sauced by these people. Now I'm figuring it out a little bit since I spec PvP. I didn't hit the ice block either. Well, that other guy joined in, but normally I'd end up getting sauced by him. With Palm, Ring of Frost, you can freeze him in place, kind of like a second freeze. Yeah, that one's much smoother this time. Yeah, I mean, I have not watched a documentary that explores. I can't say a conspiracy exists, but I think it's just human nature, subconscious mind, kind of, you know, what do you call, like, mesmerism or whatever, just people being kind of mesmerized by shit, you know, and a familiar face goes a long way, you know. And I know the Hitler mustache was more popular at the time. It sure as shit isn't now, but um, there weren't anybody else that had Hitler mustaches besides Charlie Chaplin and Hitler that I'm aware of. So, you know what I mean? Some sort of magic trick, you know, I don't know what to call it. A subconscious experiment, potentially, right? Makes you wonder, though, like that, say a lesson learned, but how do you utilize that type of thing in the future for good, obviously, but it is like, you know, like a familiar face, like I say, someone that you're familiar with, like when I encounter somebody for the first time or whatever, if they have a familiar face, like they resemble a friend of mine, I'm almost more at ease, right? Despite the fact that, like, still total stranger could potentially be a threat, someone that I don't like, more than likely a good individual, just because it's who humans usually are. But unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, having gone through the prison system, right? Not everybody's that way. But I'm like, hey, you know, like, I'm just not as nervous around somebody that has a familiar face, like if a person I've seen in prison or whatever, despite it being a bunch of deranged, crazy people for the most part. That if you were to, like, encounter them or talk to them, I'm like, I feel more at ease with somebody that has, like, a familiar face. You know, some people kind of resemble each other. Some people have the same mannerisms. And I say, as far as, like, familiarity is concerned, I identify more with someone as a familiar thing if they have the same mannerisms as somebody that I know. Like, whereas, like, yeah, they don't necessarily look the same, but they have the same kind of quirks or whatever. I'm like, based on somebody's quirks and their mannerisms, I feel like I'm like, hey, I know this person, you know, whether I do or don't. You know, so I think that's like a subconscious thing, you know. Like, they could obviously be totally, potentially different people, but like, you can identify someone based on their mannerisms, you know, and then, like, their familiar facial features, right? Really? Really? Okay, I'm about to say, how many fucking... Oh, two. Two ink. Shattering throw. Alright. Sort of a defensive measure there, isn't it? Really? Rogue? Anyway. Ears ringing. What is that Encanters thing? Goddamn water elemental off in outer space, right? Doing his own thing. Yeah, the Great Dictator, right? So when did... My dad would fucking ground me for not knowing this. I mean, it's just crazy, right? This movie, The Great Dictator, 1940, and then we're at war with all of them in just a year, right? Just a year after. The political satire was Charlie Chaplin's first feature featuring synchronized dialogue, featuring a famous speech promoting peace, proving the ability to use sound effectively when motivated. You know, it's almost like it is bizarre to say, like, it switches here. Do you get what I'm saying? So, like, for all these years, we wanted to hear what Charlie Chaplin had to say, and here's this bloke that kind of looks like him on the other side of the pond or whatever in Germany, named Adolf Hitler, and he's preaching a message of hate, but we now all of a sudden don't understand what Charlie Chaplin is saying, Hitler, and then Charlie Chaplin makes his first appearance on screen um, in a movie where he resembles a dictator and he's preaching a message of peace. It's like, yeah, dude, that's like a mind control experiment. It has to be, right? That is bizarre. Like, that wasn't what Hitler was saying, and we were wondering, and we were just like, yeah, fucking getting pulled like every direction and like like Laffy Taffy in every direction, right? That is bizarre. He even gives a speech about peace. It's like, you know, like, that is so bizarre. Yeah, I didn't know that. I'd known all that other stuff up until today, but the part about him actually, like they almost tried to sell the people on the idea that Hitler had a message of peace for some reason, right? It seems like it. Now, were they trying to ease tensions? And there was a lot of the things that I guess that happened in Germany that weren't made aware of the fact until after the fact. But we weren't at war with Germany then. But yeah, I don't know, man. Propaganda, I guess, of some sort. Seems like it. It just seems too coincidental. What do you do with it? Yeah, I don't know. Got a half hour before I can eat. I've been up about 12 or 13 hours now. I try to stay up at least 16 hours and get 8 full hours of rest, but it doesn't always happen. That's too weird. He accidentally became Hitler's mouthpiece. No pun intended. But that's how it works, didn't it? Like a fucking ventriloquist. That's so bizarre. Now, did that affect public perception of Hitler at all? I don't know. Maybe, probably. Was it? These are not the Jedi. Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me, motherfucker. I know a Hitler when I see one, right? When was the? Because this, what I guess it was inspired. I don't really know, man. Not that one, the dictator. What was the? No, the. It wasn't. Charlie Chaplin. The Great Dictator, and then the Dictator. That's so weird. Yeah, I would have to watch. I need to watch the movie. Is what it boils down to. Because, like, say, just because he gave us, he could have still been a bad guy in the movie. I need to watch it now. Released October 15th, 1940. And then October 31st, 1940 for U.S. release. So, powerful commentary against Nazism. Okay, so my opinion now changes about what I said just a second ago. So this had a message of, but still though, it is kind of a very weird, just, it is a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah, I'd have to watch it to, yeah, really put my foot in my mouth here. Seems like it though, it still seems a bit weird, doesn't it? But then old Sacha Baron Cohen does the same thing for apparently a Muammar Gaddafi-like character. So the thing here though is silent films, people want to, and this, that, and the shift and all that. Just thinking out loud. Okay, so advanced a stirring condemnation of the German and Italian. Oh, good for him then. Okay, well, I revised my opinion then. Still interesting. At the time of his first release, the U.S. was still at peace with Nazi Germany. So I guess this was kind of Hollywood's way of condemning Hitler. So this makes sense then, yeah. Okay. So then the first assessment I received from the fucking thing here was, they didn't say in what context his speech of peace was about. I thought the point was like, this wasn't in relation to directly, but no, but this is directly, this is like a direct satire of it, right? That makes sense, dude. Yeah, I guess so. That does make more sense then. It still seems weird though, doesn't it though? My theory though still stands about the world wanting to hear what Charlie Chaplin had to say. I guess it makes sense, but was used for the right reasons, it looks like. Used for good. Same thing though. Sort of, kind of. So yeah, I guess still technically, but for the right reasons, right? Well, I tried. Huh. Well, good for them then. Really? Okay, so I thought this was just like, interesting. And here's the thing is, I remember that there was a movie called The Great Dictator, but I didn't know that this was like that pivotal point in time. I thought that was either like way before, way after, or, you know, I didn't know it was like right during. I also didn't know it was a movie that had sound. But hey, uh, theories, the line of thinking still somewhat correct, right? Like, the world really wanted to hear what he had to say, and the first thing he had to say was speaking out against Hitler, so that's awesome, right? I thought it was some like anti-propaganda piece to whatever to get Hitler in power or whatever, and or propaganda whatever, and soothe, ease, kind of lull people into a false sense of safety over the matter in Europe and all that. But yeah, no, it's a much cheerier, it's a much more sunshine-filled reality then, right? Fuck you and all your dinosaurs, bitch. Guy's got an entire fucking pack of dinosaurs, doesn't he? But then again, you never know, like, all the events preceding that up until that point, you know what I mean? Might have had something to do with it. How popular was Charlie Chaplin's cinema in Europe, is a question. What a clever thing to do, though, really, like, you gotta think, like, how much the fucking talkies, and they said that he was late to adopt, that I guarantee this was contrived in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, don't do a movie with sound yet. Don't do a movie. Okay, we found the perfect fucking movie for you. An anti-Hitler movie, right? And the very first thing we want you to speak out against in some way, shape, or form, or at least in a satirical sense, mocking or a parody of, right? Speaking out against Adolf Hitler. Yeah, very clever. And that kind of makes sense, because I'm thinking, like, you mean to tell me that guy, I guess he was the most famous silent movie actor, and what was the reasons for delaying his for not doing movies with sound? There had to be a reason. And if they're like, encourage him to wait or something until you got the right movie for him, and then, because I mean, you got to think that's the equivalent of, Taylor Swift. This was Taylor Swift. Could you imagine Taylor Swift without any music? And like, now the moment you've all been waiting for, what does her fucking music actually sound like? You know what I mean? Better make it a good one. Yeah, I wouldn't, don't dock me points for thinking out loud and reasoning through this. That's kind of what this is about. Versus like, oh, well, jump to conclusions, like, as I digest the shit and figure it out, but I'm just thinking out loud. What was the thing, the fucking word for it, though, man? I mean, conclusions and arguments, and then you fucking derive an opinion and based on the facts, and like, there was a word I looked up the other day for some reason. Forget what it is now, so a lot of good it does me. Super clever. Super duper clever. His most commercially successful film. People wanted to hear. But like I say, it's like, is it one of those things like, oh, we've created a monster? Like Hitler got the power because of Charlie Chaplin and his being well received for a while in the silent movies, or maybe Germany, hey, reverse psychology here or whatever, we want to hear what Charlie Chaplin has to say. Here's this Charlie. Yeah, that makes sense too, honestly. I mean, you just got to what's the thing here? Juxtapose all the pieces or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, we really want to hear what that Charlie Chaplin fella has to say. We've been seeing him in the silent movies for years and years now. And that makes even more sense, actually. And then at some point in time, you go, how do we fucking pull the ripcord on this shit, right? Makes sense. How clever. Yeah, that makes even more sense. Yeah, the timeline here. I'm like, yeah, he's making movies in 1917, so he'd already been around for a while. I think, right? No, not quite that. Well, no, almost. Yeah, no, The Immigrant he made in 1917. Some other ones. Yeah, so he'd been making movies for fucking ever. That is so bizarre. Yeah, it's something to be studied for sure, right? The same can be said though. How do you utilize that same thing, but obviously for the right reasons? Lesson learned. You know who would know the answer to this? Quentin Tarantino. I guarantee you he fucking knows the answer. He's probably got all the information I require for this. The nugget of information, his nugget of wisdom. Because you know that movie Inglourious Basterds is all about German cinema. A lot of it was. You know, or whatever, sort of, kind of. Yeah, no, the entire thing was. Uh, and understanding how much did the Germans watch Charlie Chaplin movies and stuff pre-Nazi Germany up until that point. Yeah, no, he probably is the one guy that probably knows the most about the shit. Talk about another awesome movie though. Son of a bitch, dude. Everything is sore. Ugh. Trying to get rid of the love handles and slim up and lean up and all that, so everything's full body workouts for a little while and cardio until I get the body composition that I'm looking for, and then we'll switch back to heavy weight training and all that. Oh shit. Jerry. Fuck. I could have played that better. Oh, come on now. I'm normally the fucking such a. Oh, that guy was there. What were you doing, death trapping? I'm normally such a stickler about not calling out nodes and all that, but we're losing anyway. Yeah, death trapping. What the fuck? What'd you do? Pull the car door off. Yeah, like you could teach them like an entire college course about just that thing there. Like, how the fuck did like the media? That's just such a bizarre kind of thing, right? Popular media's influence, world culture. How the fuck did it happen, right? I mean, in all honesty, so Charlie Chaplin, did Hitler? Is it did Hitler get the Charlie Chaplin stash, or was it the other way around? Who had it first? It's important. The fuck about Greedo, right? Trying to lose as quick as possible. Whatever. Playing DDR with my WoW character. Oddly enough, he died in Switzerland at 88 years old, of all things. Strange. I'm no numerologist. It's just bizarre, isn't it? Isn't it? Lived. Born in 1889, died at 88 years old in 1977. Fucking weird, dude. That's the synchronicities. It's all the weird shit that. What do you do with it? You know, pay attention, I guess. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna call it an evening, guys. I had fun. I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow. I'm gonna eat dinner and watch